You ever have one of those moments where your stomach just drops, like the world suddenly tilts sideways, and you realize someone you trusted just kicked you in the gut? Yeah, that was me 12 years ago. I'd been dating this girl, Kate, for about 3 years. We weren't perfect, but we had history. We'd spent birthdays together, late nights watching stupid movies, even talked about getting a dog someday. And throughout it all, there was my buddy Dick. Dick and I went way back. Fishing trips, fixing up his house, beers on Friday nights. That kind of friendship where you think, this guy's solid. I even helped him build an addition on his place one summer. Long weekends of sweat and laughter. He was my brother in everything but blood. Then, one day, Kate and I broke up. I won't bore you with the reasons. Relationships end, it happens. But what hurt was how quickly the silence followed. Dick stopped answering my calls, stopped texting back. I figured life had just gotten busy for him. Maybe work, maybe family. Weeks passed, and one afternoon, I happened to be near his neighborhood. I thought, why not drop by, share a beer, catch up? So I drove over. As I turned onto his street, I spotted something that made my chest tighten. Kate's car. Parked right in his driveway. I froze. My brain scrambled for excuses. Maybe she was dropping something off. Maybe she was visiting someone else. I told myself not to jump to conclusions. But then I saw something else. His boat trailer was gone. That meant one thing. He was out fishing. Now, fishing was our thing. That was our weekend escape. So I decided to test something. I called him. He picked up after a couple of rings, sounding casual. "Hey, man," I said, trying to sound normal. "What are you up to?"
He goes, "Oh, I'm out fishing."
"Oh, yeah," I said, forcing a laugh. "Who'd you drag out with you this time?" Couldn't be Kate, right? He hesitated, just for a second, but I heard it. Then he goes, "Nah, I'm out with another buddy. You don't know him." That was it. That little crack in his voice told me everything I needed to know. I just said, "Cool, man. Have fun." Then hung up. My hands were shaking, but not from sadness, from anger. I walked up to that car, grabbed a scrap of paper from my truck, and wrote, "Hey, Kate, give me a call when you get back." I tucked it under her windshield wiper and drove off. I wasn't trying to start a fight. I just wanted acknowledgement. I wanted one of them, either of them, to have the decency to tell me the truth. A few hours later, my phone rings. It's Dick. His voice is sharp, defensive. "Dude, what the hell was that? You left a note on Kate's car." I said, "Yeah, man. Just wanted to make sure I wasn't losing my mind." He snapped back, "You need to back off. And by the way, I want my freezer back." That threw me off. "Your freezer?" "Yeah," he said. "The one I gave you a few years ago. I want it back." I just sat there staring at the phone. Of all the things to demand, the guy's been secretly dating my ex, lying to my face, and he's worried about a damn freezer. I told him fine. I'll drop it off tomorrow. When I hung up, I was honestly planning to just give it back. But the more I thought about it, the more it boiled inside me. The lies, the betrayal, the sheer audacity of asking for something back after stabbing me in the back. That's when a little light bulb flicked on in my head. The next morning, I loaded that freezer into my truck. Alongside it, I threw in my rotary hammer drill, a handful of 6-inch concrete screws, and made a quick stop at Home Depot. Picked up 4 60-pound bags of Quikrete. I waited until I knew he was at work. No need for a confrontation. I pulled into his driveway, lowered the freezer off the truck, and set it right there, square in the middle of the concrete. The thing was heavy enough to make a dull thud as it landed. I stood there for a moment, imagining his smug face when he saw it. Then I smiled. Time to get to work. I drilled 3 deep holes right through the bottom of the freezer into his driveway. Each one echoed through the neighborhood. Thunk, thunk. I sank those 6-inch screws tight until the thing was bolted solid to the ground. Then I tore open the bags of Quikrete and poured them into the bottom of the freezer, one after another. Dust clouding the air, my arms burning from the weight. When it was filled up, I grabbed his garden hose, turned the water on, and watched it mix into a gray, wet sludge. The sound of water hitting cement, the smell of wet concrete, it was oddly satisfying, like sealing up every ounce of anger I'd been carrying. When I was done, I wiped my hands, snapped a picture for proof, and sent him a text. Dropped off your freezer. Hope it was worth it. Don't contact me again. Then I blocked his number, and just like that, silence. No more lies, no more betrayal, no more pretending. Now, you might think that's petty, and maybe it was, but you've got to understand, when someone betrays you like that, it's not just about losing a girlfriend. It's about losing trust, losing the version of reality you thought you were living in. For years, I'd seen Dick as a brother. I'd sweated in his backyard building his house, helped him move furniture, spent hours fixing his boat motor when it broke. And all along, when things went south with Kate, he was sliding into her DMs and pretending he was being a good friend. The thing about revenge is it doesn't fix everything. But sometimes it helps you let go. And that day, mixing that concrete, I wasn't angry anymore. I just felt done. A few days later, a mutual friend called me laughing so hard he could barely speak. Apparently, Dick had come home to find a 200-pound freezer permanently fused to his driveway. He'd tried to move it and realized it was screwed down and filled with solid concrete. He had to rent a power saw and spend hours cutting chunks of it apart just to clear his driveway. It left permanent marks in the concrete, a scar that probably still sits there today. And you know what? I never heard from him again. Not a text, not a word. Same for Kate. They vanished from my life completely. 12 years later, sometimes I still think about that freezer. Not because I'm proud of it, but because it marked the day I stopped being the guy who let people walk all over him. I learned that kindness doesn't mean weakness, and that loyalty only matters when it's mutual. Life's moved on. I've built new friendships, found new love, and whenever someone starts to show those same red flags, the lies, the evasiveness, the little betrayals, I remember that driveway and that freezer, and I remind myself once trust is broken, it's gone. So yeah, maybe it was petty, but it was also poetic. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you thought was family, you'll get it. You reach a point where you don't want revenge to hurt them. You just want it to mean something, to remind them and yourself that you're done being the fool. And in this case, the message was cemented in stone. If you've ever felt the sting of betrayal and wanted justice done your way, hit that like button. Share this story with someone who's had their own freezer moment. That point where they finally said, enough. Subscribe for more true Reddit revenge stories just like this, because sometimes karma doesn't come knocking. Sometimes you've got to mix the concrete yourself.